really followed the Angels as much as probably Mr. Pierce here, but
Yeah.
what's his name? Shohani Atani.
Shohei Ohtani.
Okay,
Shohei Ohtani.
He's,
Is he Japanese?
that guy's a talent, man.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So,
what position does he play?
He could probably play center field. I heard that if he had to play a position, that they would move Mike Trout to right field for him.
Yeah. Oh. But he's a pitcher and then he's a DH.
Yeah. And he hits bombs. Right.
Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Thank God It's Friday Live. We've got Sean Woolley and the mayor of Eagle, Idaho, Jason Pierce, is here this morning. Thanks for coming.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. We have some questions to ask you today. Man, the city is up in, I don't want to say in a roar, but there are some people, there's a group of people that I call the next door naysayers. And anything you do, if you went out and gave children bicycles, they would say that it was the wrong thing to do or something.
That the tires were flat.
Yeah, the tires didn't have the right amount of pressure in them. So we'll have fun later. Let's just get the good stuff out of the way, because I was reading next door the other day, as I am wont to do. I'll sit and read and chuckle and add some. Let's get rid of that and add some comments and things like that. And well, let's talk about something a little more fun first. Eagle Fun Days, since I have it up on the screen.
I mean,
Eagle Fun Days is something that we moved here 5 days or 7 days before Eagle Fun Days happened 5 years ago. And we went to it and we thought, this is the coolest thing we've ever done in our city. The parade, and then they go around once and then they come back around, and there's the water fight and all that stuff, and the police and the fire department, and everybody gets into it. We loved it so much. Sean and I were talking about it the other day, and we're kind of wondering what's the history on Eagle Fun Days, since we're in the 50th anniversary this year. And as the mayor, I figured you'd probably know a little something about it.
Yeah, so Eagle Fun Days obviously is a great event. We get about 50,000 people over Friday and Saturday in downtown Eagle. It's moved around a little bit over the years as it's grown. It used to go from like the Stearman area on your way up to like Eagle Hills Elementary, out across Eagle Road and over to the Seventh-day Adventist Church. And so as it grew bigger, we couldn't close Eagle Road anymore, so we keep it on State Street. It's just been a fun event. It's been named different things over the years, but it's been, the same type of thing. It really gets the fire department involved. It used to be held in June, and it was tied into the rodeo, and it was tied into the Rocky Mountain Oyster Feed, which was a fundraiser for the volunteer fire department at the time.
Okay.
And so, it's been all over and had to morph as the city has morphed a little bit. We no longer have volunteer firemen. Everybody's paid in the fire district. And then you've got, the water event is just kept going. You got the fire truck spraying. You got all the different, people that get in the parade. I mean, ACHD brings down their big water truck. I mean, it is just one of the most fun things that, like you said, I had the same feeling 20 years ago when I moved here. I mean, Where in the country does this happen? And that was 20 years ago. And to think we're still able to do it really shows you how free Eagle is.
Yeah. This is, we love it. And we've been down there, not every year, but almost every year that we've lived here, and just really enjoyed it. It's funny because I moved here from Huntington Beach, California, who has the longest contiguously running 4th of July parade in the country. And so it was always a really big deal to get down there. And I mean, it's a much bigger city, so we had to get down there at 5 a.m. or whatever and get your spot on the grass and blah, blah, blah. And it's a good time, but it's nothing like this. It's nothing like this.
Yeah, like I said, it used to be held in June. And so, for those first few years that I lived here, you never knew if it was going to be 60 degrees and raining or 90 degrees.
Right.
And so because of the water and everything, they decided to move it to July, because obviously it's always going to be in the 90s or 100s pretty much by that time. And then it also coincides with us being able to, we never really had a 4th of July parade per se. And so it kind of, allows people to enjoy the 4th of July and there's so much other going on in the Valley. But then right after that next weekend, in case you went out of town, there's something locally still to do for people in the Valley.
So is there anything new this year? Is it, if I looked at it and I saw that some things had sort of changed or maybe been added. Can you tell us what's new that maybe didn't happen last year?
Yeah, I don't think there's really anything new. Old State Saloon was the old gathering place where Orville Jackson is. And so they are doing some stuff themselves, but even the gathering place before had music and had things in their parking lot. The Old State Saloon is doing their thing where actually they're hiring actors, country western actors from the 1800s. They're going to have bands playing all day at a stage at the end of State Street, Eagle Road. They're going to have from what I understand, bull riding in the parking lot and some stuff for kids. I mean, so, and then of course we just have, it's an overgrown Saturday market, in Heritage Park with music playing. You've got the tractor pull, which we've always done, the Rocky Mountain Oyster Feed. You got the 5K fun run in the morning on Saturday. Friday night, you've got Family Fun Night at Gerber Park, which is a non-alcoholic kind of event with a bunch of, you got the fire department, police department. I will actually be in a dunk tank raising money for a charity at 5 p.m. So I expect that line to be very long. And then, the chamber is putting on, Eagle Fun Night downtown on Friday night. And then at 10:30, we're doing, I think it's about 10:20, we're doing the fireworks at Eagle Island State Park. So there's just a lot of stuff to do.
There really is. And it's a lot more than we've done. We've done a little bit of a few of those things. I don't know about you, Sean. I know we've seen you down there. We've stood on the side and enjoyed that all together, our families together. Well, but we haven't done some of the things.
I mean, I've been here going on 7 years. I've been to 6, and it was like by far the one of those things where you're like, you got to be kidding me! Like they just shut down the street. You get to have a beverage, you get to say hi to neighbors and catch up, see all the other stuff, the car. I like the car show personally.
The car stuff's cool.
But yeah, it's but my question is, like, it seems over the course that I've been here, the amount of floats or sponsored floats or whatever you want to call them, that line has gotten a lot bigger and the parade's gotten a lot longer. Am I right?
Yeah, you're correct. It does. Every year it's tough to say no. And so we add a little bit more here, a little bit more there. This year, the parade route is changing a little bit. Instead of coming out at Iron Eagle down a little further past the Holy Cow, we're going to go from Plaza. So we're going to make the line of floats go backwards a little bit. We're going to shrink up the parade route a little bit because there's some areas there in the beginning that kind of didn't have a lot of people in it. And so obviously you want everybody to have the same experience. Yeah. And the other thing that the fire department in the city has gotten together, and we bought 3,300-gallon water tanks that we are going to spread throughout the parade route, so people don't have to bring a bunch of their stuff down, their own water. And what's really nice about that too is we're trying to eliminate the gutter water that usually happens towards the end of the parade, where people start sucking water out of the gutter and shooting it at people. So
no one needs warm gutter water.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Just think of all the fun flus and bacterial infections after that. Other question too. So water balloons, they're frowned upon, correct?
Yes, correct. Yeah, water balloons are a tough thing. There's a couple things that we really
every year there's people with them.
I know you can't stop everybody, but a couple things that we like to stress. First of all is making sure everybody respects the dry portion at the beginning. You've got your military, you've got your your elected officials, you've got your American Legion riders on motorcycles. So really respect that dry part at the beginning, and then there'll be a big banner that says hey, the wet start part is starting, and you'll see the fire truck shooting water at you, and then it's time to go. So, but yeah, water balloons are just tough. Depending on how you fill them up, you're either hurting somebody or they're breaking before you mean them to, or something. So,
and then all that trash has to be picked up as well, right? I mean,
exactly.
So you were talking about the Old State Saloon putting on all those things, and here's you and the owner, right, talking about that. There's a really good video out there, and they did a really fun advertisement, sort of a commercial where they had, like you said, the actors come in and talk about what they're going to be putting on, and the bull riding thing or whatever it was, a bunch of different things that I didn't know went on either. So. Very cool. Good to see. It's nice to see the downtown businesses getting really involved with Eagle Fun Days. But now, not as fun. People are saying some things, and we got to talk about them. People are saying on Nextdoor, I read one the other day. It says Mayor Pierce wants to fire the police department, or doesn't want to pay for the police department, or something anymore. And I was thinking, well,
he's defunding the police.
Defunding, yeah, right, yeah, because he wants to grow government, and I'm just like, okay, let's talk about this. The police department has asked for some more monies or something like that, and there's some reasons that this does or doesn't make sense. And we talked about this yesterday in the Coffee with the Mayor meeting, which everybody should come to, especially these people who are passing along information that's just, third-party information that's not necessarily true or at all. So anyway, I was hoping that you could discuss that with us and tell us what the state of that is.
Yeah, so basically, we contract with the Sheriff's Department for Eagle Police. So like any contract that we have in the city, when someone comes to you asking for $500,000 more for the same services on a just under $4 million contract, you need to look at what are your options, what are the best things for the resident, what is the bang for the buck, what are they doing that they're supposed to be doing from state code that we're paying for maybe double. There's a lot to it. It's not as simple as just, oh, okay, you asked for it, we're going to give it to you. I mean, no one likes that when it comes to school bonds. No one likes that when it comes to, us hiring somebody or doing anything else. We're just doing the due diligence for the residents of Eagle. I'm a law and order guy through and through. I go on 2, 3, 4 ride-alongs a year. Have always supported the police and the budget and everything else. But it's our responsibility to look at this stuff and make sure that, we're getting the best services for the best price for our residents. And, it's a complicated thing. I mean, I know the sheriff department thinks that they are doing their part. We are making sure that we're doing our part. And that's all it is. It's typical stuff.
So is there some overlap? On where I think that one thing that some people don't understand is that the sheriff's department, the Eagle Police Department, is actually a portion or is a part of the Ada County Sheriff's Department, and we contract so many officers, for so many hours, or I don't know exactly how it works, but it's something like that. And are there certain things that each of those different entities, even though they're the same sort of company, should be doing, where maybe there's some gray area and we're spending dollars where we shouldn't, or we aren't getting something that we should, or something like that?
Double dipping.
Well, yeah, like you said, it's kind of complicated because the sheriff's department have from the Idaho legislature, they have mandates that they're supposed to provide and do. And so when you have a contract like this, that stuff can get blurred sometimes. So is the sheriff's department supposed to be doing it? Are the Eagle residents supposed to be doing it? Are the Eagle residents paying double? Are they paying for it twice? One of the things I'm very sensitive to is, Eagle pays a lot of tax dollars to a lot of entities and supplements stuff throughout the county as a whole in some aspects. When you look at your tax bill, I mean, I believe it's about 12 different, some people have 13 different things that they're paying taxes to different taxing districts, right? And that includes the city. And so making sure that we're getting everything we're supposed to be getting and not paying twice for it. I mean, that's the big thing that we're making sure of at this point is, are we getting the full services from the sheriff's department portion of the sheriff's department? And then what is it that our residents through the Eagle Police portion of the sheriff's department are we getting from that?
Okay. So these same people say, oh, well, they have heard from whomever that you might want to outsource the police department now, take it away from Ada County Sheriff's office and move it over to Boise or Meridian PD. Is there any truth to that whatsoever?
Well, part of the due diligence is talking to those organizations. Now, obviously, I haven't talked to Boise at all. I have talked to Garden City. I have, mentioned something to Mayor Simonson about, and mostly it's talking to them about, hey, what's it like to have your own police department? What's it like? Why do you do it and not have contracts with them? And it's just to educate yourself to make sure that you're making the best decision for your 35,000 residents that go and elect you. You've got to have those conversations. You just can't keep going with a status quo. We've done that throughout everything in Eagle. I mean, the last controversy we talked about last time was trash, right? I mean, how does it become such a controversy, right? It's like we're looking out. We save 70% of the people $75 a year. And, most people saw no difference in their services. And so it's just one of those things you have to look at.
Yeah, due diligence. You look
Exactly.
and see what the different things cost. And so is there, I guess, to maybe play devil's advocate or just look into the facts of it, does it make sense to have your own police department? What are the costs relative to doing a contract with the sheriff's department? Is it way more expensive? Is it way less expensive? Do you have less latitude? Because what if you've got 8 cops or 10 cops and 3 of them are sick? I mean, what do you do? Like, there's something in there that has to be looked at as well, right?
Sure. And if you look at, obviously Garden City's half the size of us and they're able to do it. Right. And yeah, it's more expensive. But, one of the things that's been brought to my attention is that, the biggest liability you have in the city is your policing. Right. And so to have full control over what happens is important for a lot of mayors. I truly do believe in the system that we have with the sheriff's department. I like that. Now, you got to remember, they have mutual aid, so they're all going to help each other throughout the valley, right? We've had instances in Eagle. There's been instances in Star. There's been incidences, in Ada County, and everybody comes to the rescue of everybody. Everybody around here is going to support each of the different departments. So, in those one-offs, when you have something crazy, they're going to be there for each other. So that's not too worried about. But yeah, you do have to worry about who's sick and who's not and all that. And that's why I like the relationship with the Ada County Sheriff's Department. But at the same time, once again, we have to make sure they're doing things the way Eagle wants them done. We don't want to be done uniformly. Eagle's different. I mean, I hate to tell you, but that's why I live here, right? And it comes down to, everything from policing to roads to everything. We want things differently here than other places do. And we've created a community that doesn't need the same policing as others on purpose. We've gone outside the box to create an atmosphere that makes it where the bad guys don't want to come, right? I mean, you look at what we're looking to do with the shooting sports park, right? That's going to be bringing all kinds of different officers from outside of just what we elect or what we hire in Eagle to be coming through our community, right? So now all of a sudden the bad guys see all these people traveling through our community. Whoa, okay, I'm not going there. Right. There's different things that we do that we've put in place in the last 3 or 4 years to make it easier for our officers to focus on the things that Eagle residents are worried about and not things that are just, hey, we just have to check on this to check on this. We can get them to directed areas that make sense. I always say that, Eagle residents are really, one of their biggest concerns is that I left my garage door open and I want to make sure my golf clubs don't get stolen out. Right. And I say that in a sense of, it's that community stuff that we really are worried about and happening. And the way I read state code and the way state code has been told to me, the sheriff's department in every different county is really responsible for taking care of car accidents on highways and safety on highways and all that. And the way our city is set up with 4 highways going through it, right? It was done for a reason to have the sheriff do it and not the local police. Because why should we be penalized because of where the state decided to put its highways?
Right.
But we should be taking care of the areas where we're creating more density and there could be more issues. And that's where I want to see our police going through Legacy, going through Two Rivers, going through, Brookwood and Lexington Hills and all the subdivisions, and making sure that those things that we've created are kept nice, that there's not people that shouldn't be there, that there aren't people that are there that should be there doing the wrong things anyway, right? And so that's kind of my philosophy.
So, sort of talking about the changing of the geography of the city of Eagle, which just happened or was just approved with the annexation of Avamore. One thing that I keep seeing in these next door conversations or threads is that people will say, "Oh my gosh, can you believe that Mayor Pierce annexed Avamore, but isn't going to add any more police?" It's like, I don't think that's the way that works, right?
No, not at all. Actually, during that, the sheriff's department said that they would like to have 2 more officers, and we have not agreed to that. As a matter of fact, Avamore put $130,000 towards filling the gap between the time we actually start collecting taxes and providing those services to them. So, we got the developer to actually pay for that. So it's not coming out of the pockets of the residents. What's interesting about Avamore too, when it comes to policing and those services, is we are instantly going to have about 500 people paying property taxes. And that doesn't happen in the average subdivision. When Legacy got built, Legacy was way out there for Eagle, right? We had to start policing that from the day one house that went in and the $350 a year they were paying in city taxes.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And patrolling it for the construction stuff to make sure stuff didn't get stolen off the construction sites and all that. We actually have an opportunity. We're going to have 500 houses participating in our tax pool to be able to provide those services as we move forward from day one.
Right. Is there any chance maybe that someday there'll be a substation or something out that way, or is it not necessary?
That's kind of been one of the things we've talked about, a couple of different substations. We've talked about one at Beacon Light in 16. We've talked about one up in Avamore, and eventually in Spring Valley. Avamore and Spring Valley, you're talking 40, 50 years before you're going to actually need a substation. I'll tell you, it's funny hearing the police and firemen talk to each other, because the police tell you that, they don't spend a lot of time in the substation. Their job is to be out there driving around, right? They're not just sleeping, waiting for the bell to ring to go take care of something. I love to hear them give each other crap about it. But, a substation is great at some point if it makes sense, down the road. And, Avamore does have a place that they will give us the land to do that, just like Spring Valley, which is now called Valnova, will do also. And so, when it comes time, I'm sure they'll want to put that out there. But we did have the forethought to realize that, towards the end of those projects in 50 or 60 years, there is going to probably be the need. And so that's why we asked for it in the beginning, to make sure it was there when those officials at those times will be making those decisions, because I guarantee it won't be me.
Well, 50 or 60 years, it won't be any of us.
Exactly.
Here. The one on Beacon Light in 16 makes a lot of sense, especially with the sports complex coming up there. And, it seems like a good place for them to be. Speaking of the sports complex, I think that we've gone over this before, but has anything changed? Are we closer? Do we have better dates? Do we know what's coming?
Can I go take BP or what?
Are we going to go what?
Can I go take some batting practice or what?
Batting practice.
We ready to go?
Yeah, not quite yet. So we have we're finishing up the process through the city. And we're working hard to get the road in there, and put the gravel through and get some of the asphalt done by the end of October. There's some utilities and stuff that need to be run through there for the Valnova project, and then also for our project. And we're probably getting away. We're putting together a funding committee now for a lot of this different things that we're doing. So, what's interesting is my philosophy is that the community wants to get involved, and the less tax dollars we can use to do these things that what makes our community great, the better. And so we're putting together a funding committee that people will go out, we'll put together things so we can go, hey, we want to go to this organization. We think you're a good fit. Here's what we need. Here's what you can contribute financially. Here's what you're going to get out of it. I'm looking for sponsorships for the park as a whole, for every different backstop we have, to the snack stand, to everything, right? Because I think our local businesses, we have a lot of mom and pops and a lot of, smaller Idaho type businesses that want to be involved in these types of things. And so, and that way we're not having to fund it up front with taxpayer dollars. We can, run it with the taxpayer dollars, which was what we do with all of our parks. But we're also looking at user fees too with a lot of these parks, right? We don't recover a lot of user fees for the parks we have now, but a sports complex like this will do it. The gun range that we're talking about, that will have, passes and yearly costs to it for the folks that are going to use it. And so really, having these amenities close by and having that, financial capture that we can bring back to help pay for these things is going to be huge for the long-term, viability of the city of Eagle.
Right. Yeah. That's so. What do you think it would cost to have the Dan Kling real estate, Sean Woolley sports complex named after us? What would that cost?
Well, for any other two, it'd be about $1 million, but for you guys, 2 or 3, I think. No. We haven't quite got all that worked out yet. So that's what with the funding committee and everything else is putting together so that when we go to folks, it's a one-time understanding, and we've got people that are knocking at the door to participate in this stuff.
I'm sure.
And so it's gonna be a lot of fun. Like I said, the first project we did within my first year was the dog park, right? The Eagle Pet IQ dog park. Mm-hmm. And I mean, there's $300,000 that we didn't have to use out of general fund money to build a dog park, and it was donated all by Pet IQ.
So it seems like like making good relationships with businesses in the area makes a lot of sense, because then they want to come and help the city. Obviously, they want something for it. They want their name on it, and they want some recognition, and that's fine. But being business friendly is probably helpful, and I think that you are that. And then
guaranteed rate field.
There you go.
Guaranteed rate field, yeah.
Oh wait, that's the White Sox. Sorry, that's the White
Sox. Oh, that's right. They do have a field, don't they?
Yeah.
They love sponsoring Cornwall. Don't know why.
So, let's see here. So, shooting sports complex, you brought that up. So let's talk about that. How much closer are we to having an idea, maybe what's going to be there if it goes through, which I imagine that it'll be something that most people will want. So, what are we looking at with the shooting sports complex?
Yeah, so the shooting sports complex is looking at the first thing that we're looking at doing is the static and the 3D archery, and we're hoping to have that done by the end of this year. Everything's going to depend on funding, also same type of thing. But once again, I've got people knocking on the door for that too. So it's just a matter of us having all the ducks in a row and ready to go. The static archery looks like it's going to have about 16 bays of stuff that'll be set up, kind of out there strategically by staff. And then, if a tournament happens or someone's going to hold something there, stuff can be moved around. So if they want to get closer further or have a different pattern. And so then the 3D archery, which will it'll have 3 different 3D archery courses, and one of them will be adaptive, which we're really excited about. So it'll be concrete pathways up to it and everything. So those in wheelchairs, those in the military that have maybe lost limbs or anything, can be part of it. But also it really helps for the young kids, right? You might not want your kid trap going through, the foothills and the sagebrush and all this, the cheatgrass, right? And so you get the younger kids involved in these sports too as they move forward. And then, having the bays, everything from, a 10-yard all the way up to 200-yard rifle range. And then, of course, one of the things that we're doing is we're setting aside quite a bit of land for a law enforcement officer training facility. Mm-hmm. So once we kind of get the main road and the main part done for the public, it will start to reach out to the law enforcement people more and find out what they want to do. Because a lot of them now are going all the way out to Blacks Creek. They're going out to Parma. They're going out to a lot of these other places. And just shooting up Eagle Road is a lot easier, I think, for a lot of them to be able to do that. And of course,
No
like
pun
I said,
intended, right? We're not shooting up. We're not shooting up Eagle Road.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Commuting.
It's commuting up, Eagle
Right.
Road. It's exciting. I think we're going to have quite a bit of stuff done by early next year with the funding I see out there for us and the excitement from the community. Even have been approached by a company that wants to do a VR training classroom there. So we'd have a training room where, a fish and game could come in and do on hunter classes, and you could have 4-H doing stuff. And then now you have a VR where you could go into a situation where you could have a house, and how do you defend your house? Police officers could have a virtual reality setup, right? And then you're able to do it there, or even a training course for first-time gun users. And then you're able to go right out to the range and actually apply those things after you've had some training and safety in the first place. So there's a lot of exciting things that I think can happen with it, and I'm looking forward to it.
Cool. Yeah. Forward Movement. I don't know if you remember that place. Forward Movement in Meridian, Idaho. Idaho, obviously Idaho. In Meridian, had a VR thing for law enforcement, and I think they had private party stuff that would come in and train on it as well. Was really, really neat to watch. It was neat how well it worked with. You would think, you've got a TV screen or this big screen, and you draw, and then you've got these guns, simul ammo guns or whatever they're called, and they pull the trigger, and then it reacts on the screen, which is really cool. I think that 20 years ago it would have been a lot crappier than that. So that'll be. I'm trying to think of a better word for it, but.
Weren't we still playing Pong 20 years ago?
Something like that, man. Super Mario Brothers for sure.
Well, 20 years ago, we were playing Duck Hunt, and we were
Duck
sticking
Hunt.
the gun up against the TV to cheat.
Nintendo Entertainment System. That was great, man. Why have you grown government so much? You are not a conservative. How dare you?
Yeah, it's interesting. We have had a lot of things happen over the last 3 years, right? I mean, you had, the selling of a park for an area that was going to be a park for $9.1 million. You had all these other things, but we've had a lot of people move here. We've had to hire more people in order to take care of the parks and keep them at the class that, the people of Eagle expect. It's interesting. I went to a baseball tournament in another city to the west of us quite a bit. It wasn't Star, it was further. And oh my gosh, going in the park restrooms and looking at all the trash around and everything else, I was just like, oh my gosh, there is no way the Eagle people would put up with this, right? Yeah. We've done a couple things that, it costs money, but it's what keeps our community great. And one of them is we actually have staff that is at our parks from 6 a.m. till about 9 p.m. every night. And they're not only making sure it's kept clean and picked up and, the landscaping's nice, but they're also there for safety purposes. Right? When you're out there in an orange City of Eagle shirt, if a mom is missing a child, or if a kid gets lost or something, they know who they can go to, and having that other eye on what's going on is important to us. The other thing a lot of people are saying about growing government is our fiber network, which, the interesting thing about the fiber network is it is a enterprise fund. So it's just like the water system that we have. It pays for itself. So if you don't join the fiber, you're not paying for it out of your tax dollars. Right. And we're doing it all with ARPA money, which was money that, once again, is not coming out of your property taxes. It's federal money that came to us through everything that happened the last 3 years. And, when we first got that, there were like 3 or 4 things you could do with it. And when we saw broadband, we said, listen, no one is going to invest in Eagle the way they need to because we don't have enough density to do it. And so we said it is very important if Eagle wants to stay the way it is. And I'll tell you right now, to me, that's conservative, that's small business minded, that is homeschool, all those things that is really making Eagle what it is today, that we need to have good internet. And so making sure that we provide that. So now, just to make it clear, we are only the fiber provider. we do not provide the internet service systems. So you're still going to use your CenturyLinks, your Sparklights, whatever other companies we put on there, but they're going to use our fiber, which means we will invest in connecting all the houses together and making sure everybody has fiber and it's equal throughout the community. And like I said, I think that's just a huge thing. And then, like I said, knowing that you're only paying for it if you're using it. If you decide not to use it, you're not paying for it.
Right. Unlike, other like police services, you're paying for that no matter what, whether you ever have to call 911 or not, or reach out for a cop or whatever, or the fire service or whatever, you're paying for that no matter what. The fiber, you're not. It's not like it's something that's held over your head. You don't want to participate, you don't have to participate. It's not growing government.
Right. And then the other thing too about it is, some other cities were using some of this ARPA money to actually help other private companies become another option for their residents. And we didn't think that was the right thing to do, because now you're picking winners and losers when it comes to private businesses. So why did the guys that put all the money into the infrastructure not get help? But you're saying, oh, well, we're bringing this in so you have some more competition. We didn't think that was fair. So this was the best, most fair way. And remember, about the fiber, the city of Eagle doesn't own the fiber. The people who will be on it will own the fiber.
So the people who put the money in on their monthly fees or whatever will pay for all of that at that point. Sure. I know that we're using the ARPA money to lay down the foundation and put the conduit and the fiber in and all things like that. But going forward, the subscription fees to the fiber itself will be what pays for it.
Correct. So in the monthly cost, there'll be a cost to maintain it. There'll be a cost for future expansion, and there'll be the cost to for administration, and then there'll be the cost for the actual ISP service.
Right.
And so we're looking at $50 to $60 for 1 gig up, 1 gig down service.
And you'll be able to use any ISP you want. I can continue to use CenturyLink, but it's over the fiber.
Not any. The city will determine which ones go on there. Okay. Right. So we're probably going to start with 1 or 2 in the beginning because they need to get users. Right. So we'll do a little RFP, put it out there, find out who's going to give us the best deals. You'll have someone that'll come in that might say, hey, we can do for $10 a month, we can give you 1 gig up, 1 gig down. If you want to do 50 by 5, you'll pay, $8 a month. And we'll look at these things and decide what it is. Now, remember, that's on top of the cost of the fiber, right? There's going to be a base cost for the fiber, which we figure is about $45 to $50 a month. And then
what we're paying.
Exactly.
Or whoever, CSC or whoever right now.
Right. And so, and then as we grow, we'll continue to add providers so that people can. And the nice thing is, like, the way this will be set up, if you want to have a second ISP for $10 a month, you can have another ISP.
Like and a failover?
Well, yeah. So now, obviously, if your fiber gets cut out in front of your house, that doesn't help you. But if Sparklight has an issue in Salt Lake City, but you have CenturyLink as a backup, and theirs goes through Atlanta instead, well, then you can still be up.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Well, that sounds key. Like I have CenturyLink, and we had an outage recently that lasted, 10 hours or something. But man, that really puts people out nowadays. We're talking about 20 years ago. Obviously, that didn't really exist, or it didn't matter very much back then. Now, like this, we're doing all this over my home internet and your home internet. Well, and you're at the office, so you're not.
It's your internet.
It's my internet, right? We all rely on this so much that having failover is a very, very good idea.
Yeah.
My failover is going to Dan's house.
Yeah, come on over. All right. Well, let me ask you if is there anything coming up that we should know about, maybe that we haven't talked about recently, or is there anything new that you want to tell the people about?
Yeah. Is there anything new?
Yeah. I mean, gosh, there's, we've always got something going on.
Other than the huge government that you've grown and you've.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's kind of interesting. Our budget has gone up quite a bit since I've become mayor, but we have not. If you look at the portion that is property taxes, it hasn't come from adding more in the property tax side, except proportionate for the new people that have moved here. So what we've done, the reason the budget has gone up is because we are saving money to do projects. Like this year, we're predicting our budget will be about $8 million less than it was last year, because we've now built those projects that we were saving for and paid cash for, rather than bonding or using interest or anything else. Right. And so, you look at the bridge that was just built, right? The pedestrian bridge along Eagle Road, all that done and saved a bunch of money. And so that comes off the books. You look at property that we've bought for the sports park. You look at property that was, donated for the shooting sports park. So all these different things. And so when you're saving money, of course, your budget goes up, because we have to account for and spend everything we have, right? Or show that we're going to, and so on and so forth. Now, we don't always spend it, right? If you look at our budget, it's very interesting. We have to, we plan for, I'll just give you a little example. We plan for 10 street lights to be taken out on State Street. So if a car accident comes and 10 of those nice street lights get taken out, we put about $150,000 away every year in case that happens. Well, most of the time it doesn't happen. So that money doesn't get spent. And every year we go back to zero-based budgeting, where we go all the way back to zero again, and we start again. And we go, okay, here it is. One of the things we don't do is say, oh gosh, we've got $100,000 left this year, let's spend it because we get more next year. That's not how the city of Eagle works at all. We plan for the worst, we hope for the best, and we spend as little as we can.
Before the change at State and Chinden, those are the lights that usually went out as, right? They reformatted the traffic.
Yeah.
Because I remember, like, when we first got here, there was always like once a month a big accident at Eagle.
Oh, because of the blinking yellow lights that people didn't understand. I loved the blinking yellow lights. I thought they were great. In fact, when I moved here, I was telling people back home, oh my gosh, they've got these blinking yellow lights that give you a lot more control of the traffic, help keep traffic down, etc.
If it's a four-way intersection and there's a flashing red light, what do you do, Dan?
Yeah, right. It's like a stop sign. But people didn't know what to do, and they freak out, and then they pull out in traffic and get creamed. And it's like, oh, it's the blinking yellow light's fault. Well, I don't know. I think it's the guy who pulled out into traffic's fault. It's very much akin to, although at much slower speeds, obviously, four-way stop signs here. People do not seem to understand how, and I don't know if it's the Californians or the Washingtonians or the Idahoans or a mix of, I don't know who it is, but
probably the people from Oregon.
Yeah, probably the Oregonians. People do not know how to do a four-way stop sign, and they back up because people are in the middle going, oh, I don't know what to do. Do I go left? Do I go straight? Drives me nuts.
I'm very proud of Oregon being able to allow
pump their own gas. Yes. Yeah. They've moved up into big boy pants.
If anyone needs any training on that, just let me know.
Yeah. I've done it a couple times. In fact, now my children do it, so we can have them teach them.
Anyway. I got a question though in relationship. So I know that there's a lot of subdivisions going in on State, right? Eagle Point and a whole bunch of other stuff that's going to be coming. I would assume that there's going to be more lights, traffic lights, intersections on State Highway.
I don't think that's a city thing.
Well, but it kind of is. So the cities can fight for stuff. So one of the things that Eagle has done a lot of is we have planned so that there aren't a lot of lights on the state highway, because our belief is the state highway is there to move traffic. And so if you look, we have a lot of, in our planning areas, we have a lot of frontage roads. We have a lot of collectors that go through, parallel to Highway 16, and a lot of planning that we've done to make sure people can get from A to B without getting on State Street. It's kind of interesting. From Eagle High School, you can go through all the subdivisions and get all the way to Legacy without getting on Floating Feather or on Highway 44. And that was purposely planned so that the residents of those communities that know the streets and that live in those streets can get from A to B without having to get into the traffic that might be generated from outside our community, right? If you live in Emmett, you're probably not going to go through Legacy, Kathleen Estates, the Preserve, all that to get over to Park Lane. but you are going to get on Floating Feather. You are going to get on Beacon Light. You are going to get on Highway 44. So how do we create these ways for our own residents that live here to be able to get through the community without necessarily getting on the highways? Now, the issue is that a lot of other communities that are on these highways are asking for and getting more lights and more things put on. I mean, I hate to say it, but Meridian is the one why Eagle Road is the way it is. Eagle Road was supposed to be the same way, but as Meridian and through their land use, they kept asking for more and more lights instead of putting frontage roads in and other things to keep it off Eagle Road. So we're hoping there's not a lot more lights, is what I'm trying to say. I think Palmer is going to go there. We've been working with Star. Star really wants a light at Palmer. We hear from people in Legacy that want it. But like I said, Legacy residents could get all the way out to the light at Eagle Island State Park without ever getting on a highway. Yep. They could get to Floating Feather and get down to places where there's lights. Yeah. So there's alternatives.
Because I just know that on Palmer there was they were monitoring the traffic, the flow of traffic, and
like a traffic study.
The little bars or cables that they run across the street to see who's coming.
Yeah, they were getting traffic counts.
Yeah, and I'm assuming it's about the subdivision that would be going in there, kind of thing.
Well, and it's also about, if you look at all to the east, to the west of Palmer is Star. Mm-hmm. And so that's Star city limits. And so they have a lot of high density planned for that area, right? You look at Amazon Falls, you look at the commercial they're doing and everything, and that's going to have a road out to Palmer, right? Because there's no way for them to make a left out onto Highway 16 unless they get them out to Palmer. And then Palmer then is where your light is at. Well, with our planning, once again, if you look at what we did, you could have gone through our neighborhoods, you could have gone to Floating Feather, you could have had other alternatives to go east on Highway 44 than going to Palmer. And they kind of, I don't think have really planned for that to work that way. They want the light at Palmer.
Yeah. Well, and even that construction or commercial building just right there, it's just, I don't know, like weird. Sorry.
I plead the fifth.
It has nothing to do with you, but I'm just saying, whatever they did, like whoever was like, yeah, let's put that right there. Like, I don't understand that. Sorry.
Well, in the end, I think that that sort of planning helps keep some cars off of 44, and thus, and the lack or the lower number of lights keeps traffic moving, so that people can get from Emmett, Middleton, Star, Eagle to Boise without all getting jammed up at all these lights, doing start and stop. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I try to stay off of 44 if I can by taking the back roads. So it makes a lot of sense that lights in.
Well, and like I said, the highways are used for the whole Treasure Valley, right? And so if we can create ways for our residents to have a better drive and a better experience through the communities that we create, then it makes it better for you guys, right? If you got to go grab a gallon of milk and you can go down, through the neighborhoods and through places to get to the Albertsons, right? It makes it a better experience for you as a resident of Eagle than having to fight the people that are coming from Star, Emmett, Middleton to get out to Boise, for instance, right? You don't have to fight that same traffic.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Well, shoot, man, that's the topics that I wanted to cover was especially the next door naysayer people who, man, they really just have lots of bad stuff to say. And I think that a lot of it is rooted in third party hearsay. And so I just wanted to bring you on and talk to you about some of those things because like I said, I go to the Coffee with the Mayor meetings and you really do a good job at explaining them, but none of these people come there because they're like, oh, I don't want to, he does these things, which you don't do, and we don't want to listen to him talk. Okay, well, I don't know how you're going to get your info then. So we'll try and bring a little bit of this information to these people and try and dispel some of these myths that are going on.
And people don't have to just do Coffee with the Mayor, right? Contact me anytime. Sure, I was on the phone with a guy till 10:30 last night talking about stuff that he was concerned about. I mean, I do it all the time. I always tell people, listen, we all have to know where we're both coming from. And then if we still disagree, we still disagree. That's fine. but at least you got to know the truth and where people are coming from. And I think I need to hear that too. I'm not just saying you got to listen to me. I want to hear, why do you see it? I don't have all the answers, right? But listening to people, we come up with the best decisions ultimately, I think, for the city of Eagle.
Right. Having a conversation or a discourse to put both sides out there, or all the different sides. It's not always two. There's gray areas as well. Let's discuss this stuff and let's figure out what the reality is and what the right answer is, without just spouting off and getting angry and making posts on, I got a post on Nextdoor and tell everybody what I hate and all that. So I appreciate the work that you do and the job that you've done. I love living in this city, and I think that it is headed in the right direction, and so I appreciate you.
Well, thank you,
and I appreciate you coming on to our little Friday show here and talking to us. I think that's.
I have a question though. Is it too early for me to put my easy up for Fun Days?
For Fun Days. I'm not sure if it'll still be there, but you can try.
Actually, here it probably would be. It probably.
Well, I didn't mean from it being stolen. I meant from like ACHD or someone coming by and taking it down.
What's the earliest that those things? I mean, I know people camp out. It seems like. So,
I've seen stuff as early as 6 o'clock Friday morning. People start putting stuff out. So
for the fun. I mean,
for the parade on Saturday. Yep.
That's okay.
Wow.
But, oh yeah, no, we don't discourage people from getting stuff out there and putting it.
Have to pass that around because you
got to get the best spot.
So your stuff doesn't end up in impound or purgatory somewhere, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
So
and make sure you tie it down because sometimes you get a little windy.
It does get a little windy.
Otherwise,
yeah, I usually encourage people. Usually do it. I usually get out there about 6 a.m. Saturday morning. And that usually works fine. You can get your best spots if you do it first thing Saturday morning.
Perfect. Well, that's good.
And do we know the location of these water container things?
They'll be just kind of evenly spread out throughout the whole the whole parade route.
There's going to be 30 of them. Is that what you said?
30.
30
of them.
Gallon.
Yeah.
Like troughs, like you have for your cattle.
Yep. Exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'll bring the pump so we can pump the gutter.
There you go.
The trough.
Yeah. You definitely don't want to waste the gutter water. You want to reuse it, reclaim it, recycle it, right? So
I'll be passing it. I promise.
Oh gosh.
It's an ice bath, right? You got to get one of those in too.
Yeah, there you go.
So
I didn't hear what you said. What is it?
Oh, I was going to say I would throw a couple bags of ice in it and take an ice bath before everyone.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, get that dopamine.
That cold water,
Yeah. The Wim Hof method, Eagle Fun Days style. So,
yeah.
All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you. Thank you, Mayor Pierce. I appreciate you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate you both.
Thank you very much.
Go Eagle.
Talk to you guys soon. Go Eagle.
Right.